Welcome again into 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome again into Strategies for Living. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan, and over there at the other end of the broadcast table, there she is. We call her Sparky. She is PLPC Carla McCormick. However, I thought we got this. I thought we did this the other day. I don't know if the camera is picking this up. Well, the sign by my OCD
oh, no, it's crooked.
is about to go nuts. Remember the other day, right in the middle of the show,
you got up and
I had
walked
to get up
over
and
here, yeah.
and so
I'll fix it for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And at the controls, he doesn't have OCD. Is Rapid Ruben, at least I don't think you have OCD.
No, not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge. Rapid Ruben, right. How you doing,
I'm
Ruben?
doing great. I have whatever the opposite of OCD. I'm perfectly fine with a mess. Or
it's funny. I don't have it on everything.
Yeah.
It's only on some things.
Huh.
But
no, have you seen his
office?
office?
A crooked sign is one of those things.
All right, Carla. All right, now I'll pay you to stop right now. Do either one of you guys ever? I mean, both of you juggle a lot of things in your life. Your job, your family life. Ruben, you've got a very active family life.
Sure.
Social commitments. Do you ever feel like that you spend so much time taking care of other people that there's not enough time left for yourself?
Didn't I just tell you that my life has become unmanageable?
Yeah, you did say that.
It can be a lot sometimes to sit down and take care of yourself after taking care of everybody else, and it's real easy to throw your needs to the side to help other people. At least for me, it is.
Yeah. And so I was thinking about that this weekend, and so we're gonna do Self-Care 101 this week.
Well, we might have to do remedial self-care for me and Ruben because I think we need some help.
We're going to cover today. We're going to kind of cover Self-Care 101, but we're also going to cover care of the mind, care of the body, care of the spirit. We're going to try to do that all week. We're also going to talk about emotional first aid, psychological and emotional first aid. That'll probably be Friday, but today we're going to start this with kind of Self-Care 101. This is Wellness Week on Strategies.
I like it.
Yeah.
Wellness Week.
Yeah, Wellness Week. We're going to Self-Care and Wellness Week. So,
that works for me.
Yeah. Folks, thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living. We are presented by CADA, the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana. And they've been helping individuals and families for 60 years now. We're also brought to you by Milestones Counseling Center, by Jerry Anderson State Farm Insurance, by Learning RX, by Highland Place Rehab and Nursing Center, by Resilient House, and by Jacob's Well Inspirational Books and Gifts. We're coming back here on Strategies, Self-Care 101, Wellness Week, Strategies for Living. We'll be right back. And some tenderness will walk upon the water. If we're talking Hey, welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Thanks for fixing that sign. Oh, I don't know. It's not quite there, though. Yeah, you didn't. Yeah, you tried to fix it.
Tape.
Yeah, you tried, but it's.
Maybe I should just take it down.
Well, no. Robert and Erin might get mad, but
I know. Is Robert still going? He might not. He might yell.
No,
at
he's
me.
back this morning. He's back this morning, and so we need to straighten him up. Folks, we're talking about taking care of yourself. This is Wellness Week here on Strategies for Living. A lot of us take care of a lot of other people. I think a lot of women are caregivers by nature, but I think a lot of men are too.
I would agree.
And yet, how many times do we put ourselves on that list? And the truth is that putting ourselves second really doesn't serve anyone. And Carla, we could approach this a lot of different ways, but I'm going to say it this way. Many of us come from a Judeo-Christian position. We are familiar with Jesus's when Jesus was asked, what are the greatest commandments? He said, love God, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Yes, he did.
And that's the whole of what he said, which is brilliant when you stop and think about it, because, that takes care of everything. It takes care of everything. And I'm not picking on any one denomination now, so don't call me and yell at me. I'm picking on all of us as Christian denominations. I think we do a pretty good job on the whole of 2/3 of what Jesus said. I think most Christian churches that I've ever been into focus a lot on loving God.
Yes.
And focus a lot on loving neighbor. Here's the problem. We don't do a good enough job on focusing on loving ourselves. And you can't, and this is the brilliance of what Jesus said in his words, you can't give what you don't have. If I want to give you desperately, if you're thirsty, if I see you thirsty, and I desperately want to give you water, but I have no water in my container to give you, doesn't matter how much I want to give it to you, I can't. And that's the brilliance of that saying. You've got to take care of you first and foremost. Sometimes we get into this mode where we think that's selfish, when in reality that's selfless. To take care of you, to take care of others, to be a person who loves your neighbor is not selfish at all. It's selfless, because I know that I can't give what I don't have. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. I mean, when you fly in an airplane and they tell you that, if the oxygen masks come down, to put it on yourself first before you put it on your neighbor.
Right.
I think that, as a parent, I'm a better parent when I am filled up.
Absolutely.
And I have something to give.
Absolutely.
I am more patient. I am more kind. I am more understanding. I'm just a better me.
This touches every area of your life. It touches your relationships, whether that be husband and wife, work relationships, whatever relationships you're in. This touches. Our health impacts how we feel. It impacts how we connect with each other. It impacts how we connect with the world around us. So that's a good place to start. How do we know? How can anyone listening this evening know, okay, it's time to give myself a break? And that's what I want to kind of start with this evening. As we begin to talk about this, what are the things that we can look for that say, I probably need to do what we're all talking. I want to make clear to people, this is not you and I from the mountaintop.
As the dark circles under my eyes can attest.
Yeah, you and I are talking to me and you.
Yes,
as we're talking to everybody else. So, but let's talk about some of the things. Let's you and I talk about some of the things that might be indicators, might be major clues that it's time to do more self-focus.
Okay.
One is sleep. You are totally exhausted, but you can't sleep. When we overwork ourselves mentally, that can lead to physical exhaustion. And severe exhaustion can lead to a couple of things: the need to sleep all the time, and the inability to fall asleep when you go to bed. And when you do sleep, your sleep suffers, and so does your health. You don't sleep restfully, if you will. The part of the brain that interprets our thoughts, our feelings, our impulses is particularly sensitive to the impact of sleep.
Well, how many health authors have we had on just since we started in February that have talked about the impact of sleep or
Right.
the impact of a lack of sleep?
Absolutely.
Every single one of them.
Absolutely. There's no other way to cut this. We need 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, and we need deep restorative sleep. So if you're exhausted and you can't sleep, that may be a clue that, okay, you need to put yourself first. What's another one?
When you can't focus.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
You kind of have ADD.
Yeah.
When your thoughts go from one to the next to the next, and you can't finish a task.
Yeah. What
If
does the dog do? Squirrel.
Yeah, squirrel. Well, if you go to the kitchen to empty the dishwasher, and the next thing you know, you're in the pantry, and the next thing you know, you're cooking spaghetti, and you haven't finished anything. That's a good. For me, that's something that I pay attention to.
I think that is a very, very good one. Another one is your anxiety level. You're more anxious than usual. We're all anxious some, even if we don't have a diagnosable problem with anxiety. But when anxiety knocks on the door, it can show up under a number of disguises. Things like racing thoughts to panic attacks. It can lead to physical symptoms like tightening of the chest, stomach problems, shortness of breath. If you're feeling particularly uneasy and you're having a hard time kind of snapping back into your usual mood, your baseline mood, it might be time to get a mental breather. What's another one?
Well, wait a second. Can't being anxious manifest itself as being edgy or irritable?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, some people say, well, how do I know this is anxiety? I mean, if you're not yourself, if you're barking and you're grumpy and you're,
and we're not talking about occasionally now. We all get, even Ruben gets pissed off occasionally at us, right?
Every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't
Really,
seen
when the
it.
FCC starts calling when Carla goes off, you know how she is.
But the thing is, the edginess, when it's chronic edginess, not just occasional every once in a while.
No, if it's like when you're not yourself anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to digress. I
That's
had to
okay.
throw that in there because
That's okay.
when your family starts looking at you funny or doesn't invite you out to eat pizza or something, you might know that, hey, wait a second, Mom's not herself.
Yeah.
What about if I keep getting sick?
Oh, yeah.
If I keep having a chronic sinus infection?
Absolutely. If you find yourself, you can't shake something. You can't shake that cold. You can't shake that cough. You keep going. You keep seeing your doctor. If you look back over the last year or two, and you're seeing your doctor way more than you normally do, then that may be a signal that your body is giving to you to bring it down a notch, to slow down. Yeah. You ever feel like you're in quicksand? You ever feel like I'm slugging and I can't, it just doesn't matter how fast I move, it feels like I'm in slow motion?
Not that so much, but I feel like everything I do is I make mistakes. So everything I do takes 10 times longer than it's supposed to take.
Okay.
So maybe I'm not stuck in quicksand. I'm more like stuck on a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Like, running real fast and going nowhere.
Yeah.
Which would probably kind of fall in the quicksand,
mentality.
Yes.
Yeah. If I find myself drinking multiple cups of coffee or caffeine drinks, to just to stay in there, I might want to take a step back and ask, do I really need to take a little better care of myself? Feeling disconnected. If there's one thing that can make you feel detached from the rest of the world, it's a lot of us sit in front of a computer all day at work, or we're buried deeply under a pile of to-dos, and we hardly feel like we have time for air. So if you feel disconnected, if you find yourself withdrawing from people that you love, thanks to the growing demands at work or at home, it may be time to take a step back. And I think you just.
I got a little trigger happy there. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Well, that must mean it's time to take a break. And so that really gets into the next thing we're going to talk about. Did you know that? You segued very well.
Excellent. I meant to do that. We planned this ahead.
Yes, we did. Because the next thing we're going to talk about, if the things that we're talking about now make sense, I've got to learn to set some clear boundaries, don't I?
That's the hard part.
Okay, so we're going to tackle the hard part because we don't shy away from the hard part. We're going to come back and talk about setting clear boundaries.
Okay, I will be a student and pay attention.
Self-Care 101. We're talking Wellness Week this week here on Strategies for Living. How to take better care of yourself and the importance of it. We'll be right back. Where you go for rehab and recovery does make a difference. Let me talk to you about Highland Place Rehab and Nursing Center at 1736 Irving Place in Shreveport. Cardiac rehab, stroke rehab, surgical aftercare, burns recovery rehab, neuro re-education of the brain, and wound recovery. Well, you may have to put me on the shelf before this program is over because that's still crooked. Welcome back to Strategies for Living. She's driving me crazy, folks. Welcome back to Strategies for Living. Marriage and family therapist David McMillan and PLPC Carla McCormick here on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. We've got some of the smartest listeners in the whole wide world that listen to this program. I just got something I got to share that makes such good sense to me. And it's a matrix. It's a simple matrix. So put you and draw a line, draw a column of you, and then put under you health, well-being, happiness. Write those three words.
Okay.
And then across from you, write other, and write health, well-being, and happiness. And here's the deal. You can, if you look at this matrix, any diagonal down is fine, and across is okay. But it's never okay to sacrifice one of those for the other. So if you find yourself sacrificing your health or your well-being or your happiness for the health, well-being, or happiness of another of an other, then it's not okay. Now that's so simple, it's brilliant, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But okay, I'm going to give you the big but. What if there are times in life where you have to care for a sick child, a sick parent,
Absolutely.
a sick friend. So
you just said the key word, times in life.
It's not a season. It's not forever.
Right. If you have a sick child, if you have a spouse, if you have a parent that needs care, yeah, you may need to stretch for a time.
You were talking earlier about Jesus, and didn't he, like, weren't there times, and I can't quote the scripture, but weren't there times where he separated himself and he went off, like he went to pray,
yeah.
Or he went out on the boat to get away from the crowds, or
absolutely,
he went into a room.
The Sabbath was established so that you would remember to take care of yourself, so that there would be a day that you stopped and took care of yourself, body, mind, and spirit. I'm paraphrasing here. Yeah, self-care. Yeah. The Sabbath was made for the man. Man wasn't made for the Sabbath, which is brilliant, You also had something that you wanted to share.
I was talking. I remembered that, what did I tell you it was called, Reuben?
The plimsoll?
Plimsoll. So on a ship, they're on these big cargo ships, right?
Yeah.
They have a line that shows whoever, I guess, the captain who's loading the ship, how much he can load on the ship before it's too much, where that's all the ship can take, right? And so I thought, how neat if we had a plimsoll that would say, or a warning that would say, okay, Carla, you're full now. That's enough. You can't take any more.
But we do, and we've just been talking about it. We do have that.
So all of those cues, those emotional cues, the physical cues. Well, actually, we talked about physical cues,
right? Yeah, we're easily getting sick, feeling like you're disconnected, feeling like you're in slow motion, feeling like you can't focus, being more anxious than normal, being exhausted and can't sleep you're exhausted and need to sleep, but you can't. Feeling down in the dumps all the time. Those are things that they're our, what do you call it?
Plimsoll.
Plimsoll. Okay. Plimsoll.
Plimsoll.
I'm still so focused on the crooked sign. It's nothing's going to go right for me. Yeah.
I'm going to take it down.
All right, so it's difficult to say no, especially to people that we love. But always doing for others can leave us all feeling depleted. It can also make us feel resentful. So boundaries are important because boundaries can strengthen relationships because it allows you to make sure that your needs are met so that you can serve others. Again, this is not selfish, this is selfless. It's only going to work in terms of self-care when you take care of yourself, when you really, truly take time for yourself. So let's talk about some ways that we can set boundaries in the 21st century, because it's difficult. Self-care, especially in this world today that we live in, this fast-paced world where we're constantly bombarded by work, by family, by friends, by everything else in between, and in the middle of that, social media, and our text message is going off, and our email is going off. It may feel impossible to create space for yourself. So let's talk about some ways, Carla, that we can do that. First of all, how about a self-care idea? How about a self-care note on your calendar? If you keep a calendar, and many of us do on our phones, you and I keep professional calendars. Mm-hmm. What if we wrote at 2 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, Carla self-care? And that was the time that you went and got a massage.
Actually schedule it.
Yeah.
Don't just wait till there's time to have time for self-care. Actually
schedule it to be done. If you're a person that has a schedule, put it in the schedule. Yeah, take the dog for a walk. 7 o'clock tonight.
I mean, we take time for showers and to wash our hair. I mean, we can take time for a walk.
Yeah, exactly. Disconnect to connect. We live in an information. We're consumers of information, unlike at any other time in history. We have the news 24/7 cycle, right? We're connected with our devices. So that technology and the constant connection to the dramas of the world can disconnect us from both ourselves and those soothing, reassuring, deeper meanings behind our existence.
Well, and I'm going to say this again, and I've said it before. Fox News, CNN, these news channels were not made to be watched all day long.
No.
They can become depressing.
Well, and if you watch them, you can see that they're not made to be watched all day long because of the way they repeat every,
30 minutes every hour,
yeah.
So, after you watch it, get your news and then move on to something else.
Yeah. So disconnect to connect. It's okay to take a break from the demands of all the social media, the news, your computer. Schedule that in too. What's another one?
Ooh, I think taking a vacation, taking a real vacation.
Okay.
Where you turn off your phones and you spend time with your family and you do things out of the ordinary. Not a working vacation where you take your computer and you're still doing work.
Yep.
Take a vacation, like a real trip.
There you go. And we are lucky that we have so many venues that are very close at hand. How many times have you been up to Hot Springs?
Oh gosh. One of my favorite places to go is hiking in Arkansas because my cell phone doesn't work.
I know.
It's forced.
I know.
I can't even check on things if I want to.
Trips over to Jefferson. We've got some beautiful lakes within close driving distance. I mean, we've got so many ways. A vacation does not have to be a
trip to the Bahamas.
No. It can even be a staycation.
Which are sometimes the best.
Which
right?
are sometimes the best. Stock your fridge. That's another boundary. That may sound weird, but shop for your favorite and and the most nourishing snacks and ingredients. Put yourself first there. Make sure you've got those stocked. That way you'll always have those things on hand, and you won't feel guilty about, leaving your family sometimes to fend for themselves. Stock your fridge with the things that you really like. that may be a small thing, but I think it can be an important thing.
Well, I love having a stocked fridge. It's very satisfying for me to have all of the things stocked in the fridge and have everything I need to be able to cook.
Yeah, yeah.
So you might sometimes need to step out of your comfort zone, David.
Ooh, oh yeah. Like that's what you're doing to me tonight, making
Maybe
me look at that.
looking at the crooked
Yeah.
sign. Yes.
Yeah. So, making yourself, focusing the attention on yourself, bringing up new thoughts on maybe old patterns. I can tell myself, okay, nothing's really bad's going to happen because the KEEL sign behind Carla is, womper jawed.
Barely crooked.
Yeah. But it's not barely crooked. Ruben, is that barely crooked? That's
Yeah, I mean,
dramatically crooked.
You're
It's pretty
fixating.
crooked.
Yeah, it's dramatic. That's dramatic.
If it were a picture in a frame, it would look a lot worse. But
Yeah.
it's pretty crooked.
Yeah. So when I feel the edginess of that, I can step out of my comfort zone, and I can remind myself, okay, well, that's not the end of the world. Yeah, I'm aware that my OCD is stirring up, but it's okay.
Will it matter in 5 minutes?
Well, that's a great question, isn't it?
Will it matter in 5 hours?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I love the rule of fives.
Yeah.
Will it matter in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months?
No,
5 years?
I'm not even going to remember it in 5 minutes. I'm zeroing in on the feeling right now, and so many times that's what we get stuck in.
So how do you change that?
Well, by being willing to again step out of my comfort zone, and I swear she's doing this. She's doing this to me tonight. She's making this happen.
We need to replace that negative thought with a new thought.
What? What?
Nothing.
What?
Just keep fixating.
1017 FM 710 KEEL Strategies for Living. We're Wellness Week this week. Addiction takes a toll on your body, mind, spirit, and relationships. When you're ready, there is addiction treatment in Shreveport with the highest quality behavioral health and addiction specialists together with Welcome back. Welcome back to Wellness Week here on Strategies for Living. Marriage and family therapist David McMillan, PLPC Carla McCormick. I swear she's still messing with me. She's over there telling me, Ruben, that she's fixed the sign, and look at it. Look. Do you see?
Okay, no,
Yeah,
now I definitely don't see.
You don't see.
I don't see it.
Yeah, well, I think she's messing with me. I don't care what I think you guys are conspiring here.
I think you need to get some help.
Okay, I'll consider doing that. We're focusing this week on self-care 101. We're talking about the importance of taking care of yourself. We've talked about clear boundaries. Let's talk about something that's a big part of self-care, Carla. It's gaining the strength and the knowledge to believe in yourself and your ability to make choices that are right for your body and right for your mind instead of relying on other people. Now, when we talk about that, we've got to talk about your intuition. We've got to talk about tapping into your own intuition. What is your body and your mind telling you? So we get into a cycle where we pay more attention to others than we pay attention to ourselves. So maybe we just need some reminders of how to break that cycle. First and foremost, and we've been talking about this today, listen to your body. What's your body saying to you? You know, what symptoms are there? There's a saying, trust your gut.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what that is really saying is that, our body has a mind of its own, if that makes sense. We know now that our mind doesn't just reside in our brain, but that our mind is throughout our body. We talk about the brain in our gut, the mind in our gut. But I don't think that's the only place. I think Dr. Bruce Lipton, in The Biology of Belief, great book, by the way, talks about each cell of our body being a mini me. And so if that's the case, then each cell has a mindfulness about it. And how do we do that? We listen to our bodies. We trust that intuitive part of us. That makes sense?
Well, yeah, because even though we're cheesing Ruben and I, because we both kind of have stressed out lives these days, we know. We know what we're doing, and we know how it feels.
Do we? Do you know what you're doing?
Well, I know what I'm doing to my body. I know
that. Speak for yourself.
I know enough to know that my life is out of balance. My cross of life, so to speak. That is out of balance, and I just haven't decided yet that I'm ready to do what I need to do to put it back into balance. Yeah. And I think that's where my intuition, or my gut is right now. I know that I know that it needs to happen. I'm just going to have to find the right time and the right space.
Intuition is very, very powerful, but it becomes even more compelling when it incorporates what you've learned about the world and about yourself. There's a huge store of information in the brain that we're not always aware of that's based on our life experiences. This is according to, he's an associate professor of psychology at the University of New South Wales in Sydney. His name is Joel Pearson. He says, often what we think of as a gut feeling is actually intuition interacting with expertise, the latter of which we take for granted. Experience is what allows everyone from the top surgeons to master chess players to mechanics to have vital hunches and to trust those hunches. That mashup is what's at work when we're facing a far-reaching decision like whether to maybe buy a particular home. That's a big purchase. Or
start a new job.
Start a new job. Or do I really commit in this relationship? you're not making your choice in a vacuum. So, for instance, imagine walking into a home that you're thinking of purchasing and immediately getting goosebumps. The bay window, the light shining in, the feel, it makes you happy, and your body tells you that. Um, so trust that. Your mind's database and your gut are joining forces to give you, uh, a little something extra. In Louisiana, we call that lagniappe.
Isn't that like real Asian? Isn't that part of the whole big Asian culture, the yin and the yang, and your surroundings and the
Feng shui and all of that. Yeah,
feng
yeah,
shui and all that,
yeah,
like paying attention to your environment and what that feeling in your gut when you walk into a room.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. Your own perceptions, getting in touch with and trusting your own perceptions, that can be challenging because as a culture we often lean towards the rational instead of the intuitive, but that's one of the things we're talking about here, to grow your intuitive self. But you can learn that. It's like a muscle that you can exercise if you will. Unplug your devices, sit quietly. You don't have to say you're meditating, but sit quietly as if you're meditating. Okay. If the word meditating turns you off, okay, well, don't meditate, but just turn everything off and sit there.
pray.
Yeah, pray. Breathe deeply. Ask yourself a question about what you might be facing, whether it's that relationship, that home, that new job. Get into a neutral place emotionally and just let the information come. Judith Orloff, who has been on this program before as a life strategist, Dr. Judith Orloff, she's a psychiatrist out in Los Angeles. She's the author of The Empath's Survival Guide. She says, say you're wondering whether the new love interest in your life is really a match. Notice how your energy feels when you picture him. When you bring her or him into your mind. Does it go up or does it go down? What happens to your energy level? If down, ask yourself why. Does he drain your energy in some way? Or do you feel excited and positive? That's a good sign. That's a good sign to have that person in your life if, you feel positive
It doesn't
around
even
it.
have to be a love interest.
No,
It
it can
can
be a
be
good
just
friend.
person in your life,
Yeah.
or I mean, who are we attracted to? We're attracted to those people who do make our energy go up.
Absolutely, absolutely. Is there any time we don't go with our gut? Is there any time that we wouldn't do that?
All the well, I guess that's a leading question, and the answer is
Buy a lottery ticket,
oh,
picking stocks, discerning whether somebody's lying,
betting all my money at the racetrack.
predicting, job success from an interview, or getting on a plane and saying, "Oh, this thing's going to go down." Okay, those are times to, not to go with your gut.
Not to trust your
Yeah,
gut.
not to trust the gut.
Okay.
Yeah, but those, pale in comparison to the other things we're talking about. We're talking Wellness Week here on Strategies for Living. We're coming back and we'll talk about ways to get this started for yourself, ways to start your self-care practice here on Strategies. We'll be right back.
point of view.
Welcome back. Welcome back into 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Okay, so PLPC Carla McCormick, marriage and family therapist David McMillan. We're not talking about, you don't have to completely revamp your life to talk about the things that we're talking about this week, right?
No, my dad used to say, mind your pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves.
There you go.
So what he's saying is if we start doing little things, those little things will add up to big things.
Adding just a few of the things that we're talking about. If you pick one or two things that you've heard tonight and that maybe you'll hear throughout this week as we talk about focusing on wellness this week, that may be a way that you begin to feel very differently.
Yeah, I mean, just get more sleep. Just pay attention to what you're feeling. Just the little things.
Avoid negative people when you can.
Oh, so what does Maya Angelou say? Be responsible for the energy you bring to a room.
There you go.
If you're hanging out with people who come into the room and suck all the life out of it, might be time to get some new friends.
Make a decision and realize, okay, I know I'm going to fail. The same guy that hit the most home runs, I would imagine, struck out the most. And Ruben probably knows who that is.
Not a clue.
No, okay. Well, I don't either, but maybe Ben and JJ can give you the answer tomorrow. But failures are inevitable. So realize that when you're in the game, you're going to fail sometimes, and make that okay. Make that okay. Make taking care of yourself a non-negotiable. Make that a decision.
I like the idea of scheduling it in.
Yeah.
Because I keep waiting to have time to do certain things like exercise or go for a walk, and I never seem to find the time because it's not scheduled in. I always find the time to take a shower.
Yeah. Yeah, you take care of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's important to me. So I think that's what my takeaway for tonight is.
Don't compare yourself to others.
Maybe my friends who can wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and
not
go
everybody
and
can do that.
It's not a character flaw.
It's not a character flaw. Not everybody can. There's some people who are morning people, and there's some people who aren't. And I think we all know who they are. We all know if we're one of them. What does Don Tubbs say? Spend more time
grilling and less time mowing or something.
Or whatever. Spend more time doing and less time brooding is another way to say that. And so, good start today. We'll come back tomorrow. We're going to talk about the mind tomorrow. We're going to talk about ways to be more optimistic, how to stop stress in its track, how to end negativity, and live with gratitude. We'll do all that tomorrow here on Strategies. You've done it again, Carla.
This was fun.
You too, Ruben.
Oh, yes, I have.
Folks, thank you. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call to make. Who is it that you'd call? What is it that you would say? Why are you waiting? Make the call. For Ruben Wright, for Carla McCormick, I'm David McMillan. See you tomorrow here on Strategies for Living.
Is 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.